Okay, good morning everyone, and welcome to the community service section of Youth Off the Streets. We will be running through a few of our services and programs today for you guys, and we'll be happy to answer any questions once we've all finished with our particular service or program. My name is Mitch, and I do street walk for Youth Off the Streets, which is, I guess you could say, the front line. Along with a volunteer of all backgrounds, ages and experience levels, we provide a nighttime presence around the inner city of Sydney, Sunday through to Thursday nights. And we work with 12 to 22-year-olds who tend to have drug and alcohol issues and also mental and physical health issues as well. When we do walk around the streets each night, we wear normal clothing, like what I'm wearing today, and so does the volunteer. So you wouldn't even know if you walked past us what we were doing, or who we were. I think it's a lot easier to work with young people this way. A lot of young people in the city in these situations feel embarrassed to get help. So it's good not to be in a big identifying high-vi kind of vest thing. And one of our best ways of advertising or referrals for Street Walk is the young people themselves. They are a little community, and if there's someone new on the streets, then they will often tell them about us and what we can do to help them. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to talk about Sarah, who is a fairly typical Street Walk and Youth Off the Streets client. So, along with my volunteer, I might see Sarah hanging around, say, Town Hall Station, looking pretty helpless and down and out. So I would go up to her with my volunteer and introduce myself, show her my ID, and tell her a little bit about myself. And in Sarah's situation, she said, "No, I'm fine, thanks for help," and ran off. So it often takes a few weeks, sometimes months, even years, to be able to engage a young person in the right way to get them into the rest of the services. But with Sarah's case, so we see her around the train stations, parks, and around the inner city, just hanging out with other young people. And after a few weeks, we offer her food and blankets every night, and she's declined. And then finally, Sarah might say yes, and that's the first kind of point of engaging with her. So we offer her food and blankets, and also talk to her about Youth Off the Streets and Street Walk and what more we can offer. Often young people don't know about what other options are out there and what options Youth Off the Streets can provide. So I'll tell her a little bit about Don Bosco House and our other services, and hopefully she will be willing to engage with them. Yes, 1 second. So Sarah has so far said no to everything except for food and blankets. And then one night I see Sarah, and I tell her about our food van, which goes to King's Cross, and she can go there every night for food if I'm not around or if she doesn't see me. So in the evening, we'll go to the food van and see if there's any young people there, or the volunteers might call us if some young people rock up and need assistance. And while at the food van, we see Sarah, and she looks highly affected by drugs. I offer her, along with the volunteer, we say, "Would you like to come back to a safe place where there's some people who will take care of you and you'll be off the streets?" But Sarah says no. So never mind, we'll keep going, and hopefully, sometime in the future she might engage a little bit more. And then it's fairly common that we get a phone call from police. In this case, we're going to say City Central Police, and they have a young person in custody who needs support. So anyone under 18 of age needs someone over 18 of age if they're in trouble with the police. So we go and go down to the police station and have a chat with her and the police, and offer her a bed at the refuge in Marrickville, where the police are more than happy to give her bail, knowing that she's going to be in the care of people who are willing to listen and willing to care about her. So on the way back to Don Bosco, in the car, it's a good way to talk to young people in the car. Often on the streets, it's a bit full on, there's a lot of people, noise. So once you're in a car, you'd be surprised. Yeah, it's a really good place to engage young people. On the way back to Don Bosco, she opens up to us and says she has been kicked out of home. She's run away from home, because her stepdad is abusing her and her mother has committed suicide. So she's been using drugs for about 3 years, all sorts of drugs, and she has also been sleeping with men for money and for drugs as well. So she opens up and says this on the way to Don Bosco, and then by this stage we've reached Don Bosco and I introduce her to staff at Don Bosco and go back out on the streets. And this is James, he's from Don Bosco and he's going to be telling you about Don Bosco House. Thank you.
Hi, I'm James, I'm from Don Bosco. So Don Bosco is a safe place for young people who need emergency care. We look after young people from 15 to 19 years old. We've got both male and female beds at Don Bosco House, and the clients that come there have drug and alcohol issues as well. We can accommodate up to 14 young people a night. Some of those might come from street walk and others are referrals. Young people can stay up to 3 months, and then we try and move them on to a more long-term accommodation or re-engagement with family. So at Don Bosco, the caseworkers and youth workers there, they provide support for young people to do a variety of things. Some of these things are to get back into school or get into TAFE courses, gain access to healthcare. We've got a yachts counsellor that comes on site once a week. They can get access to drug rehabilitation services. We help them reduce their drug and alcohol use if that's one of their things that they want to do. We help them access Centrelink benefits, gain access to employment opportunities, and get engaged in longer-term accommodation services. We also provide opportunities for young people to disengage in negative activities and engage more positively in the community. Some of the things we help them to do that are get them engaged in music classes, spray painting art courses. We've recently had some young people go down to a youth club and start boxing down there. They've got a lot of really good peer support there, and there's a lot of great mentors that their kids have found. We've recently also had some girls go on an all-girls surf camp. We've had some hip-hop classes, and we take the kids on regular outings on weekends, like so we just do normal things that we do with a family, just go to the movies or go to football or something like that. We've got volunteers come in and cook for the young people most nights of the week. We recently had some young people cook with the volunteers, and it was really good. They had like a cultural things to bring to it. So we had some Greek girls staying at the house, and the people who volunteers came in to cook, were Greek, so they had a really good cultural experience with that. We also have volunteers come in and cook the food van each night, which Mitch mentioned before. So they'll come in and prepare food and take it out for the homeless people in King's Cross. So with Sarah, who Mitch was talking about before, when she came into our service, she was very weary of the staff and residents to begin with. After a few weeks, she came to know the staff and the young people at Don Bosco House, and she began to have a more positive outlook of her future. The staff at Don Bosco House helped Sarah to get youth allowance and referred her to a counsellor. We also supported Sarah to attend court and provided positive feedback about the steps she was taking to better her life. So Sarah, while she was there, she also agreed to start saving money and starting to look for more long-term accommodation so she could have a stable place to stay. Many of our young people, like Sarah, don't have a great deal of insight into their drug and alcohol use, so we refer them to specialist services. And one of the key services we work with is Dunley Youth Drug and Alcohol Program, which Nadine's going to talk about.
Hi, I'm Nadine. So I'm a caseworker with the Youth Off the Streets Dunley program. Dunley is a drug and alcohol day program for young people between the ages of 13 and 17. We're open for the young people from Monday to Thursday, 10:30 till 2:30, and we also work with individuals on Friday who may not fit into group work. In the mornings we do groups, which are cognitive behavioural therapy based groups where we look at issues such as relationships, health, nutrition, things to do with their drug use and other life skill components which they may need to talk about. Then we have lunch together, which is really important for our young people who may have never even had a sit-down meal with their own families. In the afternoon we do casework where we can work towards their goals, and we do counselling where they have access to our psychologists here. We also have a music program, and we have volunteers coming in every week to do gardening and to do art. We also do aftercare, which could consist of a visit once a week or a phone call once a month, and we can work with families on request of a young person. You can be referred to Dunley from a family member, an organisation, or you can refer yourself. So I'll talk about Sarah, as the others have. So Sarah was brought to us by Don Bosco. So when she first came, we did an intake with her where we gathered the crucial information we needed to work with her in a safe way. Sarah, she wanted a better life for herself, and we could see potential in her, but her levels of drug use were so high, and they did increase at times at Dunley. And it's good having this program where we can work with the client no matter what their drug use is, whether it's high or whether it's low. Because if we force them into anything that they don't want to do, we'll lose them and they'll leave the program. So during the times where she had high levels of drug use, we'd work on harm minimisation things where the safe ways of using drugs. She eventually came to a time where she did want to cut down, and we were able to look at ways to cope with her cravings and like a plan what she was going to cut down to. During that time, a lot of pain started coming up for her because she was using drugs to deal with the pain through her life in the past. And that's why it was so important to have a psychologist there as a part of her recovery. So I'll hand you over to Jenny, who's going to talk to you about that.
Hi everyone, I'm Jenny. So I'm a psychologist working with the Yachts Mental Health team. We cover a whole range of programs within Yachts. We work out of the schools here at Dunley, at Don Bosco Refuge, and we also do a young parenting group for young parents. So I work here 4 days a week. In my role here is I sit in on group, facilitate groups, support the caseworkers, to support the young people. So we do group in the morning, and in the afternoon I engage with the young people any way that I can basically. So we have a whole range of different young people who need different levels of support, and it's up to us to try and gauge what their needs are. Some kids flatly say, I hate counsellors, I hate counselling, I don't want counselling. I've had bad experiences in the past, or sometimes it's just too much to even begin to open that can of worms. So that's where we as a team have to be flexible and work at their pace, as Nadine was saying. So counselling here is really different to what you would expect in other organisations, basically because we need to. So Sarah came to us and didn't want help initially. During that time she would absolutely say, I don't want counselling, sometimes maybe talk to me. So I would have to pounce on her any chance I could get, play ping pong with her, play pool, sit next to her at lunch, try and kind of mingle my way in that, and that's very typical of me as a counsellor. That's what I have to do. They don't just come into my office at 1 o'clock, sit down and talk about their issues for an hour. That never happens. So again, we have to all be flexible and work with where they're at. So when Sarah came working with Nadine and the other caseworkers, we could see the time came when she needed help. So she reached out to me. I built the trust, I built the rapport through time. And through counselling with Sarah, I was able to really look at her values, which is a core perspective that I use here. So we're able to determine what she really values, what she holds really dear to her heart, and then make goals on moving forward around those goals. So we worked on building up her self-esteem, supporting her to try and see the impact that the sex work was having on her drug use and her mental health. And we're able to link her history and her past and all the trauma of her past to link it to how she's living her life now. So this is a long process, it took many months, but from a whole team perspective, I was able to work with her one-on-one intensive counselling. Sarah was here for about 5 months, and she would come and go from our program, and unfortunately, unlike other rehabs, we can have multiple entry and exit points. Again, we need to be flexible for them. They may not be ready the first time they come, and we might see them a year later. So she was one of those. She came and went for 5 months. By the time she graduated, she was completely drug-free. She stopped sex work, and she's living with a supportive aunt. She returned to complete Year 10 at another service, Ear College, which you'll learn about later, and she's now enrolled in TAFE studying beauty therapy. Myself and Nadine continue to support her in our aftercare program. We still talk to her regularly, support her. There's still lots of things. She's going really well, but she still needs constant support, and we're able to give that to her. So unfortunately, this is a really typical story that we have here at Yachts. But as you can see, when we work together and flexibly, we can get some really good outcomes.
Unfortunately, my service doesn't fit in this beautiful continuum of Sarah, so we're just going to jump straight to the Southern Highlands now. Elle and I work at New Pathways Residential Service. Do you want to move up this? Our service is a specialised treatment residential service, so we work with our young people 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. The young people that we get, we work with 12 to 17-year-old boys that are all referred through Department of Community Services. So the important thing to note about our boys is, apart from coming in with a myriad of issues such as trauma, mental health issues, personality disorders, self-harming behaviours, all of that sort of stuff, our young people are also coming with a substantiated sexually abusive behaviour. So sometimes that means they've also been victims of sexual abuse, but it also means that they have sexually harmed somebody else. So we spend a lot of time with our young people working within a strength-based framework to start trying to shift values and attitudes that they have ingrained within themselves, shifting them to a more appropriate society value. We also spend a lot of time helping them learn what empathy is, what it means, and whilst they might never actually develop empathy because it's not something you can learn, but they do develop an understanding of empathy. So they're able to start connecting that when they do this, it hurts someone else, and that's actually not a good thing. They might not actually ever get to the stage where they would understand the pain that the pain that they're inflicting on someone, but they understand that it hurts them, and that's not all right. We base a lot of our work on narrative therapy, but we also use a lot of trauma-sensitive interventions, strength-based interventions, and we tend to work with our young people in terms of what can you achieve, how can we bring out the best in you, because we have some underlying values of demanding greatness of our young people. And the beautiful thing about watching the boys that come into the service is the fact that when you set the expectation at an achievable level where they can grow to it, they always exceed your expectation, and you can keep raising that level. So you can have kids come in that don't know how to make a bed, or don't know how to use pegs, or didn't understand that you were supposed to use soap when you got into the shower. And by the time they leave New Pathways, not only can they look after themselves, they've also rebuilt relationships with people. They've participated in a therapeutic program where they've had to come to terms with what they did, take responsibility for it, and then prepare for when they leave New Pathways. How are they going to have a safe life? How are they going to get the things they deserve? But more importantly, how are they going to make sure that they do all of that without ever hurting someone, and by committing to living an abuse-free life? So I'll stop now, because once I start talking about New Pathways, I don't like stuff. I just like blah, 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 blah. So, thank you.
Are there any questions, anyone? Or any?
The front line, did you have like some sort of uni degree or anything like that sort of stuff?
I went to TAFE and started youth work at TAFE.
Yeah, okay. What sort of course was that for, and how long?
The minimum to work for Youth Off the Streets is a Cert 4 that goes for 1 year full-time at TAFE. And that pretty much gives you all the basic training you need to do youth work. But you learn a lot on the job, as in every job. You never learn it all in the classroom. Especially, I guess, working on the streets. it always changes, you know, every night, different people and different situations, so you've always got to be pretty prepared.
What type was that?
They do it
I'm
at,
on beaches and more shore stuff.
I'm not too sure, mate. There would be some, you can do it through A10 as well online. Yeah, I'm not sure about the northern beaches. I know St George Tapes have got a few different campuses that do it.
Meadowbank,
Meadowbank?
community services. We had it for the whole.
It's a good course though.
Our closest ones.
Sorry to cut it short, but we actually have to move on to the next area now.